Hey everyone, it's Adam Scougall. So You Want to Be an Interior Designer podcast. Welcome to season 2 and episode 14. Just want to give you guys a quick overview of who this podcast is for. So this show really is for you mid-career aspiring interior design or decorating solopreneurs that need support in building their own interior design business whilst you're working 9 to 5, which was pretty much my story. My aim is to help you balance out your time and make more money whilst you're able to take or choose the projects you want to work on rather than the ones you have to take on to pay those bills. But first, whether you're checking in if it's the right fit for you or is interior design or decorating the right fit for you for a career, why not take my quiz? It's over at adamscougall.com/quiz. It will give you a personalised report. So go in there. It only takes about 2 minutes. Take the quiz, it's down below, and you will get it emailed to you. If you're flailing, if you started or if you haven't started, there's some content in there. Take the quiz and let me know. Send me an email, adam@adamscougall.com, and let me know how you go with the quiz. But on with the formalities, or over with the formalities for today's show. I am super excited to talk to my favourite web designer. And my favorite web designer is a wonderful woman right here called Zoe Scott. Now, Zoe is going to talk to us about website essentials. And I feel like there's been a whole change just in the last couple of years in how we kind of have transformed how we used to perceive what we want to show to the world on our website. So I'm really pleased to speak to Zoe about that. Zoe is from a wonderful boutique web and brand company called The Design Order, who I, of course, have used for many years, and I'm super enthralled every time Zoe is able to do something for me. So, Zoe, before I get into the whole bio, how are you, my darling? How are you going today?
I'm good, and what a welcome. So thanks for all of that. I'm really excited to chat with you today.
Oh, I'm so excited to have a chat to you because I want to get the lowdown. It's early 2024, and I think we all want to know what we should be doing in terms of tweaks, changes, etc., or just how we position ourselves in terms of web this year. Before we get on with that, though, we've got to go through this bio here, Zoe. I've used your shortened version, if you don't mind. Zoe is a seasoned designer of over 20 years. You don't look 20 years, Zoe. What's the fountain of youth?
You know what? I have to change that because then everyone's going to know how old I am, which is terrible. But yeah, no, I've been doing this my entire life. Pretty much from I took a year off after school and then went and did my university degree. And yeah, this is it for me. It's been a lifelong passion.
Fabulous. I was going to say, you look 20 years experience. You've navigated various sectors as well, from corporate to charities, showcasing your expertise. Clients adore her can-do spirit, which is very true, efficiency and knack for making design enjoyable, which it certainly is. I'm a testament to that. It's always an enjoyable process and lots of fun. Zoe thrives on the belief that impactful design can transform the world. Her passion lies in empowering small businesses to stand out. That's definitely true. You've got to check out Zoe's content over at The Design Order. Zoe adores all aspects of thoughtful design, from fashion and slow living to culinary, artistry and sustainable living. Very interesting, Zoe. I haven't read that part before. But Zoe, thank you for being here. I've been really thrilled to speak to you today. And it's not the first time we've actually had a conversation and done an interview like this. But I think, to me, Zoe, there seems to be a lot of changes. Tell me if I'm kind of correct. There seems to be a lot of changes in the way that we thought we should present ourselves maybe a few short years ago and the way we probably should in 2024, which kind of brings me on to my first question. I know this is a podcast for interior designers and decorators. Now, I know a few interior designers that have worked with you, and I know you've worked with a number of designers over the years in general. What do you think is the most important to your interior design clients in terms of how they present, maybe say as opposed to, say, some of your other corporate clients or even other clients in the creative industry?
Yeah, sure. I suppose and you know what, I think this is one of the biggest reasons why interior designers are one of, the people that I work with the most, is because it's really important as an interior designer to showcase what you can achieve for your clients online. So that therefore means that, it's really important for most interior designers anyway to have a really great online aesthetic that showcases and helps showcase their work and really match, I suppose, the kind of services that they provide. So, I think as well, most small businesses all want the same thing, is that, when it comes to their websites, is that, you want to have that credibility establishment there to help you market your work. And I suppose, the biggest difference with interior designers is just making sure that your online aesthetic really looks beautiful, is beautifully designed, and is a really lovely experience for your users as well, so that they can get a real sense, I suppose, of, not only the end result that you can supply for them, but also the professionalism throughout, as well as the overarching kind of style element, I think, which is really important as well.
Yeah, look, I think that's pretty true. And I think the one thing that, I know the one thing that you do really well, Zoe, is you kind of are totally across that whole package in terms of, how do you look on every platform? We may be at risk of not attracting the right type of customer. Can I ask you specifically though, what should we avoid doing when we're creating a website, if we're just starting out as a newbie designer, or if we're refreshing our websites? What are some of the things in 2024 you think we should move away from?
Okay, well, I think, you know what, and this is very similar for lots of different small businesses as well, but I think the biggest thing you need to remember is not to overcomplicate things on your website. So, I would always think of, like too much content or busy design. You want your users to, I suppose, really understand what you can provide for them in the most succinct way possible. So, everyone's really busy. We don't have time these days to read long blocks of content or anything like that. So I think that's one of the most important things, is just not to overcomplicate things. And, moving on from that, I would really, really, really recommend that before you focus too much on the design, whether you're working with a designer or you're doing it yourself, is to make sure that you do the strategy first and planning of the site first. So, I always recommend creating wireframes, and I love talking to people like interior designers and architects. I work a lot with architects as well, in the fact that, wireframes are like what blueprints are to a house. And you know how wrong things can go if you miss that very vital step with your planning before you actually go and roll out the design. So those are all your measurements, confirming things that are going to match, doing mood boarding and things like that. So I always really recommend to do that first for your website as well. And you can do that really simply by sketching out each page. And I suppose, you draw like a big long rectangle, and then you can kind of map out all of the elements on each page. And really at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you keep your users in mind and think of them first before yourself. So think about the sort of things that your users are going to want to know from you. First time people, let's say someone's referred you, like word of mouth referrals is normally how it happens. And then that user has gone to validate that on your website. So think about the kind of things that they're going to really want to know and learn from you. And then think of a really good way to stack those pieces of information on each page. So the user is going to be able to understand things really clearly and quickly, as well as making sure that you have a really great work showcase as well, which is really important. So don't skimp on that. And that would be my biggest piece of advice for any, I suppose, any industry where your work is the thing that makes people purchase your service. So any interior designers or architects or designers, we're the same. Put 100% effort into making sure that your work showcase looks amazing. So, like hire a professional photographer to shoot your jobs. Yes, iPhones are great and they do take good shots now. But I would highly recommend investing in like a professional photographer, unless you have a photography degree, to go and take shots of each of your projects, because those are the things that are going to really sell in your services at the end of the day, and make people want to work with you so that they can really clearly see your skills, your style, your panache and your difference, I suppose, from everyone else out there. And And then the last thing, because I know you were chatting to me the other day about these questions, and another really important thing that I think you need to avoid, okay, doing is not knowing when to quit. Okay. So if you're not great at writing content, for example, don't force yourself to try and do it, because what's going to happen is you're either never going to get around to doing it, or you're going to do it and you're going to do a terrible job of it. So, invest in a copywriter, for instance, to help you with that. Same if you struggle with design. Interior designers are normally pretty good with graphic design, I have to say. But, if that's something that you're going to put off doing, go and hire someone to bridge those gaps. Otherwise, your website will be one of those things that you never get around to doing, and you'll miss out on that key marketing piece to help you sell more. So it's often worth, and I know it's hard when you're getting started as well, to invest in things like websites and copywriters. But really, you've just got to ask yourself at the end of the day, whether, you can do it yourself, because there's lots of ways you can build websites yourself nowadays. There's so many great platforms and programs to use to help you do that. But if you're not that kind of self-starter and you just want to go out and start working, invest in that stuff, get it up, get it running, and it will be there, and it will just help generate more income for you in the long run anyway. So yes, that was a bit of a double negative there, but yes, I hope that was clear in my messaging there.
Yeah, I just want to recap, and I'm going to do a recap after we finished anyway.
Of course.
Well, I think, so first and foremost, it was what we should avoid doing. So if I'm right, Zoe, actually, I can just talk from experience. My God, trying to do your own website, if you're not skilled in that, and how that looks to the consumer that's coming along. And we were talking about brand in the beginning, and designers especially, who should be looking really sharp in terms of how they present with their work, and their copy should be very intriguing and unique to them. If that's all sort of clustered together, and we got pages that with errors and wrong sizing and this type of thing, I don't think people can maybe put their finger on it unless there's somebody like you, Zoe, that goes, oh my God, the spacing or whatever, or he's got 6 different fonts here. We're not going to know specifically all of the little things that are wrong, but you kind of just feel it. You go, there's something, I don't know, there's something not right about this. It's
yeah.
So one thing not to do is really probably not waste hours and hours and hours of time on something that you're not skilled at, like creating a website. I'd agree with that. I've tried it before, Zoe, and I've tried it thinking it looked pretty flash, and then taken it to, I think, you, and sort of going, oh, this isn't too flash. And then when you see the revision of that and the real version of something that's professional, you go, oh my God, how could I have thought that what I had put together, which took me far too long, if I calculated all the hours I would have spent on it, it would have cost me probably double what it would have cost me to hire someone like you. That is a big mistake, isn't it? Wasting all that time and doing a crappy job. The other thing is not being prepared. And I think I know this, Zoe, if you don't mind, from coming to you guys, is if I don't have some sort of idea that's thought out at the beginning about how I want this structure of my website, what are my products, what's really important to me this year, what do I want to sell, how do I want to represent, you can't really do your job, can you? Because you kind of, if someone's sort of just mulling along week by week and you're there trying to get it going, you're going to be frustrated, your relationship is going to be strained, and it's not ultimately going to do anybody any good, is it, with the outcome, if it's the planning is.
Yeah, the plan is really important. And you know what? Any good web designer that's going to take you through a web development process will help you with the planning anyway. If you're getting a website built from scratch, the first thing they should be doing as well is doing that planning element with you and asking you those juicy questions like, what is your ultimate goal of the website? And, that we normally focus on 3 to 5 things that you want to achieve from your website, and you make sure that you hit those goals first. And go through, I suppose, that page layout and stuff like that. But it is really important that you are clear on what you want to get out of it and what you want your customers to know about you, and, and who you are as well. So that takes us back to like the brand strategy piece, which is often overlooked. And I would always recommend trying to do a bit of brand strategy if you're a new business, so that you can figure out all those really important things like, who you are, who you serve, so your target audience, who they are, because the clearer that you can become on that, the more easy it is to figure everything else out in your business. And, you know, talk about the kind of business that you want to create and the culture you want to create. Like, it's really important, excuse me, to figure all that out first, because it helps you, I suppose, understand what you need for your website. And yeah, I have actually got a free downloadable that people can download to do some brand strategy. I'll provide you with the link for that afterwards. If you're ever stuck with that sort of stuff, yeah, to go through. And it's something that, it's something that I actually go through every year. I do a bit of a brand audit every year to make sure, because your business as well over time changes. You find that you have certain strengths in some areas that you want to leverage more, all that sort of stuff. And I always recommend going back and actually just revising your business from top to bottom every year to make sure that you're still on track. You're still working with the kind of people that really light you up in life, and that your business is, of course, you know, grabbing hold of all those profitable exercises to make sure that your cash flow is really good as well.
Awesome. Fantastic. So we kind of touched on, we've also kind of talked a little bit about the next question, which is what are the top 3 essentials? I mean, the things we don't want to do is obviously try and create a website ourselves if we're not a web designer and if we want to look professional. The other thing you said is don't put too much wordy copy on there that maybe doesn't actually hit the mark and sort of just looks a mess, as opposed to actually resonating with somebody in terms of the message. That's the other thing, Zoe, I wanted to talk to you. Like, in terms of copy, I'm finding, is this right? Tell me if it's the same situation with you and who you're working with. Too much wordy copy, people don't read it, they don't want to see it. But yet we've got this thing about SEO and needing keywords, and sometimes I think people sort of do this laundry list of all their design services, and it goes into this sort of boring sort of laundry list. How much of that do you think we really need, say, for SEO on a website? Because I think less is more now.
Look, less is always better with a website, full stop. And, you know, even if you are wanting to make sure that you've got your SEO right, you still don't want to write too many words. You know, and this is where copywriters come into play. Now, I am no writer, and the one thing I always hire for any marketing stuff for myself is a copywriter and also a photographer, because again, images are gold for your website. But a good copywriter will be able to help you craft words that will also have that SEO element built into them as well. And it's a skill, a very amazing skill that some very lucky people have to be able to connect the dots there. So SEO is really important anyway, just to make sure that your website is found. And it's something that I always have as an optional extra to work with an SEO expert with any website that I create as well. Now, it's not all about, though, the words on the page. So SEO has a lot of different facets to it. And there are lots of things on page as well as off page that you've got to make sure are correct in order to be visible anyway on Google. So the words on the page are very important, but, you know, they're also not the be all and end all. And for good SEO anyway, you need to go and do some keyword research, and you need to kind of have a strategy in place. And this will be different for everyone. And this is where, again, you know, working with a good copywriter that understands SEO, they'll be able to help you with that strategy, or you can go and get it done by an SEO, specialist as well. And they'll work out a strategy that's going to work for you. Okay. So, you know, for me, for instance, my SEO strategy is based around focusing on businesses on the northern beaches mainly. Okay. Not the whole of Sydney. I wanted to focus on local businesses mainly, so that, those are probably the ones who are Googling me to find me, as opposed to word of mouth referrals. Because you've got to remember, everyone comes to your site in a different way through a different funnel. And, you know, SEO can be one of those. So that's how my SEO is targeted. So, you know, we mentioned the northern beaches a lot in our copy, as well as including words like, you know, design and websites and all that sort of stuff. And I rank very well at the moment for graphic design, but for nothing else. Okay, there's website competition is really fierce. And this is where, when it comes to SEO, working with a specialist is really good, because they have all of these access to analytics and tools in order to see what the most competitive words are, so that, you know, you don't want to focus on sort of certain terms that lots of other businesses are using, because, you'll have to work really hard to get onto the first few pages of Google for those. But they'll help you come up with a strategy so that they can focus on some of your key skills and insights and help you tweak those search terms in order for you to kind of get in the door that way. Yeah. I will say one more thing though, and SEO is a great way to get people to your site, but it is only one method to get people to your site. And I think, any SEO agency or specialist will forget that. I find that my best clients, and I've been in business now for 12, nearly 13 years, I think. Oh my God. The best clients that come to me are word of mouth referrals and referrals that I've met through networking. These are the people that they treat you nice. They treat you like a human. They really respect what you do and the value that you bring to them. And I find that my old agency that I had before this business, we used to do lots of paid advertising and stuff like that. So a little bit different than SEO, but getting cold leads off the internet that don't know us at all. And they normally turned out to be really tough to work with. And they often didn't respect us, and they often treated us like a commodity rather than a person. And that's why I don't invest in that type of marketing myself anymore. I'm a small business. I don't need tons of work. But I'm thinking a lot of the interior designers that are listening to this podcast, they will be the same. So, SEO is important, yes. And I'm not going to say it's not. But you've got to remember other things are probably more important when you're starting out, like networking, getting yourself out there, getting a website up and running, and not worrying too much about doing the wrong or the right things. You can fix stuff as you go. I always say to people that websites are just like a garden, and they are going to grow over time, and you want to tend to them, and you'll find that some parts of it, some plants will die off. You might need to rebuild them or replant them. Some things are going to require more fertilizer than others in the future, but it's going to be a work in progress, and it will be a work in progress forever. You don't kind of have, it's not like, one and done with a website. Like you need to work on it, and you need to make sure it keeps updated to, modern trends and stuff like that.
What about blogs? Should we be writing and blogging these days on our website?
So I blog. And I do that again because I find it's a really great way for a marketing kind of strategy, and a really great way to educate my audience, which are small businesses. So I blog a lot about things that would help small business owners. If it's going to help you and your audience, yes, blog. Blogging is still, and it's a good SEO strategy to keep your website updated and stuff like that. So putting on new content every now and again, having relevant up-to-date information on it, it's really good for SEO. But a lot of designers, I think, really at the end of the day, your clients don't necessarily want constant information about interior design. They want you to come and do it for them. So if you do have a blog, I would suggest that you make it all about focusing on the benefits of working with an interior designer. And I suppose another really important thing to remember as well is a blog is only going to look good and be valuable if you do it regularly. So if you don't have the time and energy to put into keeping a blog updated, it can often look really bad when people go click on your blog and there's been a post, your last post was from 2 years ago. So, it's really important to make sure that if you decide to do a blog, you keep invested in that idea and keep it up and rolling. But, really at the end of the day, I think a lot of your clients are going to just want to be able to see what you can do for them. They're going to want to learn about your process, about who you are, and about how you can benefit them.
So I think we're just talking about blogging, the benefit as well can be that it keeps the website fresh. But just generally, Zoe, if I want to think of a timeline, when do you kind of look at someone's website if they come to you and say, look, we're thinking about a refresh or a redesign, do we need to do it? I mean, at what point do you kind of go, gee, 2018, oh my God, I can't believe how dated that looks. I think it should be 5 years, Adam, between refreshes or redos. What do you think, sir? Is there a kind of period where it does start to get a bit how you're going and a bit dated, your website?
Yeah, you just kind of answered the question a bit yourself there. Like, I would say that, there are a few telltale signs that will be like, you need to go and redo your website. And the most important one, I think, is when you are not proud of it and therefore you don't share it. And you're like, I meet people and they're like, oh, I do this, but please don't go and look at my website. It's terrible. And, like that lady or that gentleman, they need a new website refresh. You want to be able to proudly stand behind your website. You want it to be something you're excited to share with people, and that's going to really represent who you are as a business and what you can do for people. Yeah. And then if its design is out of date, as Elise Doyley is, yep, it's time to redesign it. So, things like if it's not responsive anymore, like that's one of the most important things that you need to make sure your website does at the moment is be responsive. So that means it looks good on a mobile as well as on a desktop computer. You'll probably find that a massive proportion of your audience will come to your website on a mobile device. So it's really important to make sure that you focus on getting it looking really good there as well. And then I guess another really good telltale sign that your website's no longer working for you anymore is that it's not providing you with any new leads. And you can look at that through your Google Analytics, and it will show you your history compared to where it is now. And if it's not providing you with any more leads, it could mean that you need to update your projects on there, or make your call to action stronger. Or again, the design might be out of date and might be turning people off, or it's a really bad UX experience. So things like, it's slow to load, or the images are blurry. I never, ever have blurry images. It's 2024, people. Like, make sure your images look amazing and load really fast, and make sure that your hosting is really fast as well, which is really important, especially in Australia, because we have one of the slowest internets in the entire world.
Really?
For you, Kazakhstan, their internet speed is faster than ours. Yeah, our internet is so slow. So it's really, really important to make sure, your website loads quickly. So make sure you compress all your images, have fast hosting, and things like that. Do lazy loads where you can. It will mean that people won't have to wait for your website to load, because if they're waiting for your website to load, they are going to go and going to click away. People don't have any patience for things like that anymore. Those are I think the main things, telltale signs that you need to have a new website up and running. And, there's so many ways that you can create a new website nowadays. I would highly recommend for all of your audience to go and check out Squarespace. For instance, your website's on Squarespace. There's
the old version.
The old version, yeah. Well, hopefully not for too long. But the Squarespace is amazing. They have really lovely minimal templates that are built into the platform that are free. You can also go and buy lots of Squarespace templates to use for your website as well. Another really good, easy to use web builder is Showit. It's used a lot in the US. I don't know if you have US audiences.
I was just going to say, Zoe, there's the majority is Australia. The second biggest audience is US. Where 53% of the listeners of this podcast are in Australia, and 38% are in the US, and then there's a few little 1 or 2%ers
around the place. Yeah, well, Showit is huge in the US. I know it's very big in the photography community, but it again is another really good, easy to use website builder. And there's lots of templates that you can go and pre-purchase if you want something a little bit more special, which are affordable. Just make sure when you buy the template that it comes with process documentation as well to help you build your website. So, to help you know how to plan, how to strategize, what to put on each page and things like that. Kind of like what I was chatting about before. But there are lots of options out there to DIY it if that's your preference at the moment. If you're fresh getting started at the moment and you've got kind of like a $0 budget, it's good to have something up and running at least. And then, keep in mind that within the next 1 to 2 years, once the business is up and running, it's profitable, you have good cash flow, you can then go and start to invest by working with a web designer as well.
Absolutely. So really good tips there. And I think, thank you, Zoe, for actually mentioning some platforms that people can go to, because we don't all start out with a bucket of money. or much money at all. And sometimes we have to kind of DIY. The one thing I'd ask everybody out there is, if you, I can only speak from experience, if you can possibly afford to have somebody else do it, because think of all the different things that you mentioned. I'm thinking, Zoe, SEO and da-da-da-da-da. Unless you're really happy to tackle that, if you can possibly outsource it to someone talented, they can just get it done quickly as well, so you're not wasting weeks of time. And it can make just so much time. Just consider it, because it's such an important thing. Having a great website can sort of elevate you to look as if you maybe are a lot more affluent. If you're looking for luxury clients, the website can kind of help you to give off that vibe, even if you don't quite feel as if you're at that level. So they're really important. But really great conversation today, Zoe. I am going to ask you if you've got that. Do you want to give us that link? You had a guide that we could download.
Yes.
I put it in the notes, but do you want to let us know now what it is?
I think, and I would have to just double check.
Put it in the notes. Too long?
Put it in the notes. I've got 2 documents I'll share with you. One is a brand strategy document. So that will take you through basic brand strategy if you're new and starting out. Invest a couple of hours in doing it. It's going to take some time and some thinking, but it will help you be clear on the brand that you create. Okay. Which is really important. I won't go on about that now because we're talking websites today, but it will make your life so much easier. I speak to so many businesses who are like, oh, I don't need that. And it's like they're creating so much hassle for themselves, not taking that 2 hours out of their day to go and do a bit of brand strategy so that they're really clear on, all those really important pillars in every business, and every business should do that. The next is also a brand audit document. So if you have done a bit of brand strategy, but it might have been a couple of years ago, this is the document that I use at the beginning of every year to make sure my business is still on track, and, still, moving forward in the right way. To make sure that, the work that I do is enjoyable. I like it. It's right for my clients as well. Like, times, like COVID, for instance, that year we were going through all of that schmozzle, all of my clients' needs changed quite dramatically, quite quickly. And it was worthwhile going through that document when that happened, for instance, to make sure that, the services were still aligned to what people actually needed as well. So things like that as well, which is really important to do.
Good point. A great time of year to be doing that. So I'll put the links. I'll get those links from you, Zoe, and I'll pop them into the notes. Yeah. But on that note, it's been a wonderful session. Thank you for all the great information, sharing your wisdom with us, Zoe, today. All about the importance of getting your website up and running. Some really good nuggets there. So on that note, Zoe, I'm going to thank you very much and for your time, and I'm going to also let everybody know about that quiz one last time. If you're flailing in your interior design biz and you need some help in a plan or to work out where your strengths and opportunities are with some actionable items out of that, go to adamscougall.com/quiz and you can take the survey. Thank you to Ms. Scott from the Design Order. Wonderful, Zoe. And we'll leave it there. And on that note, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Great. Thanks, Alan. See ya.